I'm live, just so you know. See, I was going live. My wife had to grab a few painting things. Just got on and made it. Thanks, Bits of Random. Glad you're already on and made it. Oh, good evening. Where do you live again? Like, is it, I forgot. I'm talking to you, Xylus, by the way. Germany. Goodness gracious. What time is it there? This is a regular thing. I ask this all the time, but what time is it in Germany right now? Oh, goodness gracious me. Late. It's not evening there, it's like night. And you're in Canada and it's 3. It's 1:30 here and wow. And hello practical. Where do you live and how what time is it? By the way, practical, I was referring to you. Do you like mystery novels? Um I do to an extent. I haven't read a ton of them. I actually stopped reading mystery novels back a while ago. I used to I really enjoyed the Father Brown series. That one's really good. If you haven't read it, I suggest it. And then oh goodness gracious, Brian, it's 4:30 in the morning and you're about to sleep. Uh that sounds about like what time I end up going to bed too. I went to bed at it was 3:53 last night by the time I got to sleep. And yeah, so I get that. I'm glad you're here on the stream too for a little bit. And then back on the mystery novels thing, I don't spend a lot of time on that. Honestly, the type of reading that I do now is 90% just like educational reading. So I'm reading through like Paul Ekman's books and Maria Konikova's and Ben's and Chase Hughes and everything like that. I'm reading through all those books, and that's what a lot of my time goes to. And then on my spare time, if I don't get to read, then I will try to find like an audiobook to listen to at night when I'm about to go to bed to be able to get like my extra literature in there that I enjoy. Best book series on Holmes and author. Oh, to be honest, I haven't read a lot of the Holmes books. I've listened to a lot of them, and the only ones that I have listened to have been by uh, Doyle. So I haven't listened or read to any of the other books out there. I don't know. I have seen a lot of the different adaptations though throughout the various styles and stuff like that. And on that, there's something that I like a big project that I have in mind that I'd like to be able to undergo sooner than later. But yeah, just making sure you can all hear me, right? Do I need to? I don't know if there's a way to turn up anything or anything. Yeah. What are your thoughts on Gotham, the TV show? And I'm glad you can hear me. Haven't seen it. So the only reason that I haven't really watched it so much is because like I really like the superhero and whatnot of Batman, and since it's not really featuring a lot of him from what I've seen, then I haven't been as interested in it. And it's like it's nothing against the show. I know that it's probably a fairly good one if it's still airing. Just like I'm not a fan of Agents of Shield, but that's been out and running for multiple seasons now. So I don't know. I haven't seen it, and it's just not something that I'm really into watching. But I know I like even some of my good friends are really into watching the shows. Yeah, and see, yeah, it has a lot of Bruce Wayne, but not Batman. That's that's what I've seen, and as shallow as it seems, I really enjoyed the Batman side of the Batman things. But maybe I'll get around to it whenever I'm done watching the other shows that I enjoy watching, or have more time to just like dedicate to personal chill time, if that makes sense. But yeah, fun thing for those of you watching, I am interviewing with a news station here locally. They they are interested in me being their commercial producer, which would be pretty fun. And then also from Pokemon India, do you watch True Detective? No, I haven't watched True Detective either. I haven't been watching much like TV. I really stopped watching TV back probably when The Mentalist was done. That was the last series that I was keeping up with on TV. I still occasionally will watch some of Elementary, and I'll go back through Sherlock on occasion. Obviously, Lie to Me, but then there's some other like series like these that I haven't gone through. Like me and my wife went through Psych, or at least part of Psych, and I don't know. There's more stuff coming out with that, and then there's a show called The Glades that I watched some of as well, and yeah, that's about all the ones that I watched that would be even remotely pertaining to the channel. Like I watch Netflix a lot, but it's usually like nature documentaries and cooking shows and Bob Ross. That's kind of where it all stops. So do I want to be a detective? Not so much a detective. There's a lot of extra hoops and a lot of money that goes into being a detective, which like it's fair, and I think there should be. What I'm more interested in would probably be getting my private eye license, because that one is something to where it's like it's a dedicated internship time, and then there is like the testing to go through it. So it's a really practical, hands-on process, which I prefer a little bit more so than a lot of book work. So I would rather do the private eye side of things, but in the long run of things, all of the the certifications that I would end up amassing, which I want to get the Paul Ekman's body language certification. I want to get some training in hypnotherapy. I want to, I don't know, I might even get like an associate's degree in like acting or something like that, and then film and all these ones. They're not because I want to like pursue specific things in those paths. I would rather have all of those certifications behind me, and that when if I move to doing a live show, or if I move to really being able to publish my book, or if YouTube takes off and goes places, or anything like that that's related to what Observe is, then I just have more weight behind the punches that I'll throw, so to speak. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't ever been into the line of detective work. DC or Marvel? Ooh, right now I think that Marvel's doing a better job at staying consistent with their characters. Like it's got a lot of actor and actress consistency throughout the series. There are some things that it strays from, and yes, they're all rather predictable. We all saw PewDiePie's video on why Marvel is the way it is, but I really do enjoy the Marvel series, but DC has some bright moments in there that I enjoy. Like, I don't know, yeah. Marvel more so, but DC some too as well. So let's see here. Hello, let's do this 15. What do you need to qualify for such a PI license? Now it changes from state to state. I'm not sure on all the different areas. I know for here, I think it's like 3 years of internship work to where you're just basically in the office the entire time, just learning and picking up on stuff. And I don't know, they might give you more responsibilities as time goes on and whatnot. But after that, then you're able to then start qualifying for the testing for it all, which that's where you end up getting your private eye certification. But that's just my mediocre knowledge on it. I would definitely look into it a little bit more for your specific area. Been in any TV or movies? No, the only TV thing that I was ever in was one really just terribly cheesy commercial for one of the senators back in the day here in Montana. I was super young, and we had to throw this softball around. It was all super staged, And so what this guy would do is he would come up to us and be like all cool, like while the camera was on him. And it's like as soon as the camera was done, he just like dropped the ball and walked off. And we were like, oh, great hanging out with you, my man. Have a fun time walking around, which I understand. He had a shoot to do, but still. And then do I like Jessica Jones? I haven't seen Jessica Jones. My wife saw Jessica Jones. She enjoyed it a fair bit. But I haven't actually gone through it myself personally. Once again, you're going to realize that as far as my like interaction with the TV kind of world, the shows and things like that, I'm not real versed. I haven't seen a ton of movies, and a lot of the times the movies that I've watched, it's because it's like in this weird niche that I enjoy, and then after that, it's because I've watched it to see how they work, like their camera and the cinematography and directing and producing of it. Like that's why I end up watching stuff. But no, I haven't seen it, and I've been told that it's a super good show, Jessica Jones is. But yeah, I'm having iced coffee today. It's good. And then in this hand, I have Mellow Yellow from Jimmy John's, and it's not as good, but it still has caffeine, and that is my driving force in life is caffeine. But what are some of your favorite shows out there to like the five of us that are here? What are the shows that you enjoy watching? Because maybe I'll be able to get around to them sometime. Oh, four of us are watching now. It's going down. Let's see here. What's your favorite Marvel or DC character? Oh yeah, Marvel. I do really like Logan Wolverine because of the obvious reasons. Also because he's like one of the strongest superheroes because he can't die, no matter what. He always seems to be able to piece himself together. It's very strange, unless you've watched the last Logan. Spoilers. But yeah, so there's that. I really do like Logan. Outside of that, everybody's liked Spider-Man at one time, and I was really into Spider-Man for a really long time. And like I appreciate the Tom Holland adaptation of it a lot. It's probably my favorite adaptation that I've seen yet. And then let's see. I was really into Tony Stark when that came out as well. Like that was one of my favorite superhero movies because I feel like it really took things to the next level as far as production quality and editing style and action sequences and like the graphics and everything like that. I thought it did really, really well. And then favorite DC character. Oh man. Probably maybe Batman, Daredevil. Actually, maybe. Is Daredevil Marvel or DC? Okay, yeah, Daredevil. Daredevil would actually probably be it. I was really into Daredevil. Just kidding, he's Marvel. Never mind, scratch that. I haven't seen Aquaman. Otherwise, I might do Aquaman because that looks interesting. Yeah, Daredevil's Marvel. But Batman, I suppose, would be my favorite DC character as of right now, which isn't really original at all. Let's see here. Did I read the Ellipsis Manual? If so, what are the best cases you use the knowledge? I haven't made it through the Ellipsis Manual yet. I was in touch with Chase Hughes for a while, and we were going to set up some stuff here for Observe and doing an interview or maybe a video or something like that together. But then he got busy with stuff, and I got busy with stuff, so we lost contact, and I haven't reached out to him since, and he hasn't reached out to me. And also, I haven't been able to get a full copy of the Ellipsis Manual. I have one on the computer, and it gives me a headache to read a lot on the computer, so I try to limit that, especially since I do so much work on the computer as is. Doing my reading in the computer as well is just, it's a little bit too much screen time for me. So once I get an actual copy of the Ellipsis manual, then I'll be able to get around to it. But right now, I don't have any. But even right now, the books that I'm working with, like I have, there's a shelf over here. I've got Darren Brown's Tricks of the Mind, which I'm reading through, which is an amazing book for mentalism, and a lot of the psychology behind being a mentalist. And then I'm working through Telling Lies by Paul Ekman. I'm also working through the monographs by Ben Cardall, and then Mastermind by Maria Konnikova. And then I've got Emotions Revealed that I'm going through again for Paul Ekman again. And then had another one, and I'm blanking on it right now, but I've got a lot of books that I'm trying to work through and get running for the channel so that I can do reviews or maybe some readings and stuff like that for you to be able to hear. Let's see here. I find because science is interesting for observation, things challenge here. I'm deducting everything. That is good to hear. And then Bond films. I like the Bond films from the ones that I've seen. I haven't seen all of them, but I have seen a good number of them. And then you like the Joker as well. The Jeremy Priest-stage Joker from Gotham, Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, Loki, Riddler. And I actually agree. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into the mindset behind the villains in movies is a lot of the times why they're so much more interesting is because they have a more dynamic character arc than the good guys do. Like, for instance, one of the ones that was like an example of a terrible character arc to begin with was Thor. He was just kind of there. He never really changed much. He never really developed much. He was just kind of like Thor. And then they changed that around and they really started bringing in more dynamics to him, more growth, more character qualities, things like that. And then he took off. But the villains in it, there's always this internal struggle that goes on within them, which is a very real thing. And that there's always, I don't know, there's like this gritty character to it that's added to it that makes it just a more engaging character, just cinematically and filmically. So I really do love, like, obviously everybody likes Heath Ledger's Joker mainly because of how just revolutionary it was in the Joker realm, and now everything's trying to bounce off of that. Understandably, it was an excellent representation. But then, like, Loki has all of his characteristics that he works through, and I don't know, like, Bane wasn't so much that in the Batman. What is it, Dark Knight? He wasn't, not Dark Knight. Whatever it is, you know, the Batman movie that I'm talking about that Bane's in. He didn't have as much character dynamic, which is why nobody really goes back and refers to Bane as much. Whereas the Joker was really just incredibly dynamic. And the good guys are too boring and too good. A lot of the times, yeah, that's really, really true. And so, like, I appreciate it. I really appreciated how, for instance, Logan from Wolverine was displayed because he wasn't just like this goody goody superhero that was like always perfect. And he wasn't Steve Rogers, for instance, where Steve Rogers' character flaws are like, oh, today I wasn't as self-sacrificial kind of thing. Like, okay, cool. But like Logan really had struggles with like the depression and with alcoholism and these things that are real for a lot of people's lives, and being able to eventually come to the end of everything and be able to see past some of these things to sacrifice himself for these kids and stuff. Like, it's a brilliantly made character arc. So I really, really appreciate that. But for the most part, though, you're right. Like, most of the superheroes are just like, they're too perfect kind of thing. And I feel like that also does have some effect on our culture, where young people will watch these superheroes and have this ideal and feel like complete failures if they don't hit that ideal, because these heroes that are in their lives on the screen, it's the things that they struggle with. So I understand both sides of it, though. Like, it's good to encourage, but it's also like it's a little unrealistic. And Shrino was Oja. Hi to you too. But yeah. I haven't watched Death Note. I know that I know about L. I've heard L brought up a few times. I haven't looked into seeing what L does ever. I know next to nothing about Death Note besides the name and the name L. So I don't know. I don't have any opinions on it. And then what am I drinking here? It's iced coffee. Super good. Like, I don't know. So what I found out is I make all my coffee that I make comes from a Chemex now. Which, if you don't know what a Chemex is, it's like this. It's a brewing method. Look it up. Google it. Chemex. And if I don't drink it all while it's hot, I'll put the rest of it into the fridge to cool it, and then I'll drink it the next day as iced coffee. So I don't waste any coffee by dumping it down the drain, and it doesn't get old really because it's being cooled and preserved. So that's a fun thing. Detective Pika, definitely gonna watch it. I know nothing about Pokemon besides like the very rudimental knowledge of Pokemon. I never watched Pokemon or anything like that. I grew up in a very, very, very Christian conservative household, and it was one of those ones that's like, oh, Pokemon. I don't know why. I don't know if it was like the evolution of it or what. I have no idea. But we never watched Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or anything like that. That being said, I love like realistic adaptations of earlier cartoon animated things. I love it. Like, even though I'm not a fan of all of the like I don't really like the new adaptations of some of the old Disney movies, but I love seeing them. Like, I love seeing the CGI part of it and how far it's come and putting that different twist on stuff. And so there's some things that I like in each one, but like, I love that style of thing. So I'm really interested in the Pikachu one. So I'll be seeing that for sure. And then hello, Rodrigo. And yeah, so that's where I'm at with movies, I guess. Are there any good movies coming out anytime soon that I can think of? Um, oh, the Avengers is coming up. What is it like? Oh, the Avengers is coming up in April. I will be watching that too. Been there. Told me Dragon Ball Z was demonic. Yeah, yeah, because Dragon Ball Z is all about them Satans, and I don't have the mental capacity to separate those two. Um, oh yes, Captain Marvel is coming out too. I'm very interested to see in that, and I don't remember how her role ends up in Endgame. I know that she obviously has to have some sort of role in Endgame because that's who they called at the end of the last Avengers. So, um, just watching Dragon Ball Z at the moment, it's really demonic. I know, right? I can feel your soul leaving your body because of the demons there. Actually, it's so funny because um I wasn't allowed to watch Dragon Ball Z, but I had a Game Boy SP back in the day. I still do, and I probably still have the game, but I had a Dragon Ball Z game that my friend lent me for, like, he was supposed to just lend it to me for a little bit, and then he forgot about it, and I decided that I never had to bring it up again. So I still have that game, and I played so many hours of Dragon Ball Z on the Game Boy, and it was so hard to play because on the Game Boy you don't have a joystick or anything like that, but there were some moves that, like, you had to hit like certain arrows in a certain timing, and you had to like roll your thumb around on it, and it was something else. It was crazy, and I really, really liked it. And then demonic like Yu-Gi-Oh! In my country, yeah, that was another one that I wasn't allowed to watch. Let's see here. And then as far as the giveaway goes, no, no, no. I still will go back and play my Game Boy. It's having trouble staying charged now because it's so old. So it'll stay charged for like all of 10 minutes, and then it might die, it might not. It's really, really splashy as far as that goes. But I still go back through just for like um nostalgia. Just for the sake of nostalgia, I'll go back through and watch these movies that I got for it, because you could get like actual little TV shows for your Game Boy that you could plug in and watch. And I also will play my old games and things like that. One of my favorite games that I ever had for my Game Boy was the Aragon game when that movie came out kind of around that time. They made the Aragon game with it, and it was a blast to me. So I really, really liked the Aragon Game Boy game. If you ever somehow get a hold of a Game Boy SP and you get Aragon, you will know so much of my life just from playing that game. In the story, the blue carbuncle, how did Sherlock deduce the hat? I'm gonna be painfully unfair to you right now and say that I haven't read that one specifically, and I do not know. If you're able to, if I was able to even just Google it real quick, which I don't want to do because every time I even like remotely touch the computer area, it shakes and it's nauseating to look at. But sometime or another in the future, because as a lot of you know, I am working hard to really push Observe into staying true to itself, but not just limiting it to these educational style games. So there's some more fun content that'll be coming out that's still going to be educational. So it's not only going to be enjoyable for people to watch, but it will also be beneficial for people to watch. So like they'll be able to learn something about psychology while watching me and some other people make a fool of ourselves or something along those lines. So eventually I'll probably get around to doing a series that's dedicated to like the Sherlock Holmes deductions that you find in the book to hopefully be able to make, bring some clarity to that, because I think that would be a good one to make. It would be interesting. It would bring some literature onto the channel a little bit more and still stay true to what the channel is. Do I play fighting games? Depends on what you mean by fighting games. Like I've played like some Mortal Kombat, that style of fighting game, but it's not really so much my favorite because I really appreciate like the worlds of fighting games a lot. So being able to experience a world is more important to me than just the straight fighting. So like right now, the game that I'm playing and absolutely adoring is Assassin's Creed Origins. I am really, really liking the feel of the world. They do an excellent job at being very immersive with that. And also like the storyline's pretty interesting and the fighting is good. Like I just really like the game. It's very, very pretty too. So there's that. But I suppose it kind of has fighting. But as far as just like dedicated fighting games outside of Super Smash Bros., which I can rarely play because I don't have any sort of Nintendo system besides my Game Boy, and it's definitely not on there, then I don't get to really, really play many fighting games. Let's see here. I want to become a psychologist and help kids with mental health. Oh, that is an excellent thing to do. So back when I was considering going to school, I had some ideas. I was thinking about being a psychologist because I really, really love how the brain works. And but I wasn't sure how I was going to implement that. I also was thinking about going into acting, which there's even less you could do with an acting degree. But then what I ended up landing on eventually was I went into a business and marketing degree for a little bit. And then I switched over to a Bachelor of Arts with a concentration in theology, which ended up just being like I poured a lot of money out. And it's one of those degrees that not a lot of people really appreciate too much. So I got through most of that, found out that I wasn't really going to be able to graduate to the school that I was going to because they had this weird like final that required almost all of the homework that you had done before. I had lost my computer, like changed computers in the middle of everything and lost all of this homework. So there wasn't really a way that I could make it happen. So I was just like, I don't want to. Also, I had used up all of my funding, like the savings that I had. So yeah, let's see here. And Chloe, you are not too late. Now let's see here. I really like the way the videos are now. Thank you. They're really awesome. Editing is great and nice balance of mix and entertainment and education. Thank you, Xylus. I appreciate that. And I am really working on figuring out how to make that better. Like, I really like the wall of faces thing that's in the green screen behind me. But in order to save some time with editing, I'm working on transitioning everything over from like that classic background to just like a blue one. And so there, I'm in touch with a company that makes these like 108-inch by 36-foot roll of blue background paper. But it's out of stock right now. So as soon as they get that in, then I'll order that. So I'm gonna like mess around with the green screen for a bit to see if I can get just like that blue kind of feel to see how it translates over. The couple reasons that I'm doing that is because psychologically, the more colors that you have in that, not like color vomit, but psychologically, it makes it to where you are more engaged because there's just more to take in. So I want to be able to have that. And also, it brings a little bit more brightness to the channel. I don't want to be just like dark and moody all the time, especially if I'm going to start pulling in more humor onto the channel and adding some more dynamic and maybe guest stars and stuff like that. I really don't want them to be like, well, this is just a Debbie Downer the whole time kind of thing. So there are some things that are coming in on the channel like that in that light. But the thing that I don't want to do is how before, where I really started pushing Observe into just any entertainment that I felt like, I'm working hard on developing entertaining, fun, funny video styles that are staying true to this body language, psychology, mentalism, and deduction kind of hub that has been observed. And I think that'll help bring in some people that wouldn't necessarily understand or know or care about deduction and observation and body language and stuff like that with these other like psychology videos and things like that, and then just continue going on from there. Let's see here. It's a lot of pressure to work through mental issues. Yeah. Will I be successful if I start writing detective stories in today's world? Will you be successful if you start writing detective stories in today's world? You could be. I think what's becoming more and more and more difficult is finding a way to make an original style character arc, because everybody's used to the ones that are already out there. So if you think about like Batman, where it's like rich guy, not rich, rises up, suddenly cool and hardcore. Like Tony Stark, rich guy, not rich, rises up, suddenly cool and hardcore. Like it's a common theme in there. So trying to find something to where it's not so predictable and to add twists into your plot that really do blindside people. And actually, as discouraged as it was even when I was in writing, because I took college writing and I excelled in high school writing, it was always discouraged to kill off a main character. But if you can find out a way to tastefully do that and surprise people by it, that's something that can really, really do well. So spending time like building up a character and its qualities and everything that people would love about it and make people really love that character, but not make him absolutely essential to the entire storyline that you have to have in your head. Like when I wrote my first book, all that I did was I just kind of had a rough idea as to what I'd do, and I just start writing, which was fine. But it really led to this issue of it felt like it was kind of like wandering around a little bit towards a general goal. If you really have an idea of where you're going with it, then you can design some of these intricate character arcs around it that can die off in order to make the full thing happen. So that would be really necessary. And then being able to find a way to make it a not so obvious mystery or something like that would be something that you'd really have to dedicate a lot of time to. But I support everybody who wants to get onto some sort of creative endeavor like that. The only thing is that if it's anything like how YouTube has been for me or my videography pursue and career, it's just going to be a ton of work and a ton of failure, like a lot of failure. So just be prepared, I suppose. Let's see here. Chloe asks, have I ever played Portal or Portal 2? I love the world there, especially in the second half of Portal 2. I have played Portal 2. I haven't played Portal 1, which is a little weird. The reason for that originally was because I wanted to save Portal 1 for the channel back when I was just doing whatever I felt like on Observe. I might bring Portal 1 and 2 back if that's something that uh, you and the rest of the subscribers are interested in, is me playing that, because it's still one of those ones that's kind of like a puzzle solving style game, and it's very cool. I like the storyline. I like the idea of it. It's super cool. And Portal 2, I really did enjoy a lot. The only issue that I ran into was that some of the times when you're jumping through portals, it it corrects with the gravity simulation that's in the game and stuff like that, and then it's like all spinning and stuff, and it made me motion sick sometimes, which there was that issue. But hey, maybe that'll add just an extra really fun dynamic to the gameplay. But yeah, I really do like those games a lot. Detective stories themselves are really common nowadays. It's hard to be special there. However, yeah, yeah. But do lids or even adults, yeah, do kids or even adults really read storybooks? Yeah, I think just real quick on that, I do think that people do read storybooks still. And what I think it is now more so is not so much that it was, excuse me, I don't think it's so much now that it's just like the cool thing to do and that it's a new, fresh thing to be like part of a reading thing or something like that. What I think it is now is that a lot of like people my age or hereabouts who were involved in like the book clubs ages ago now are coming back around and being like, you know what, I really do enjoy just sitting down and reading and doing that thing. And then obviously kids have to read in school still, but school reading doesn't really count so much unless you really enjoy the book that you're reading. Um, but yeah, I think people do still read. It's just you really do have to work to be different. It's just hard to be unique in it. So yeah. I don't know. They probably are statistically. What are your thoughts on Ted Bundy, and do you think it was 100% his fault? Um, Thoughts on Ted. I think he had some solid psychological priming to get to the point that he got to, and it's not unknown for a person to be able to prime their brain to follow certain pathways through for various certain stimuli. Like I had a friend who was in the army, and he had some severe PTSD whenever he was around a certain sound or a certain smell, and there was a factory that was nearby his house that had both of those things, and it affected him very badly. So one of the practices that his psychologist had him do was to go and buy his favorite cheeseburger with his favorite drink from his favorite burger joint, and then go and be near that factory. And all that he was told to focus on was how much he enjoyed the cheeseburger and the drink, and just enjoying that moment while still having those stimuli. And eventually it eventually made it to where he was able to prime his brain into a different path, where now when he hears it, it's no longer like this flash into pain or to panic or anything like that. It was more so to where he could remember the cheeseburger stuffs, and it tied a different memory to it. So there's this idea that you can really prime your brain's thought processes to feel certain things as certain things happen. And so I think that part of that was Ted had done a certain thing, and it had inspired a certain thing, and whether he either convinced himself that it felt a certain way or felt a certain way from it at a certain time, it just ended up priming his brain to where it wasn't like he was born just into straight being a serial killer. It was more so something that developed in him and enhanced in him. And there's also what tied into that was the psychology of, as you are hit by a certain stimulus over and over and over again, it requires more of that stimulus to achieve the same results. This is shown in like people who do drugs or people who are in any sort of issue where they're addicted to something. You have to up it in order to achieve the same amount of stimulus from it. So for instance, like I have to work to not be more addicted to coffee in that I'll stick to 1 to 2 cups a day just by force of habit rather than by force of what my body needs to be able to feel like that super energy high. But I know that when I started drinking coffee, it would take about a half a cup to a cup of coffee to start feeling like I am on the ball. But now it would take probably 4 or so cups of coffee for me to get there. I'm not going to. And so it was that mindset that eventually pushed it. I think a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further until it finally manifested in the way that it manifested. Because he wasn't super super young when this happened. It was still a years of development and kind of like underground, well, yeah, development before he started acting on these different psychological cravings that he had. So I don't know if it was 100% his fault, but it's not really something that, because of the situation, it wasn't something that anybody could really blame on anybody else. So, and also, I mean, he did the thing. So, like, I feel like the justice that was in there was there.